Hello everybody, it's HeroicLegend here. We're doing another talking stuff with Heroic. This topic, and the only topic, is going to be horror. Let's start with why I can't play horror games. As any of you who have watched the previous episode, the previous thing to come up on my channel, which was more than likely than not the Heroics Random with Resident Evil Revelations 1, I don't do well with horror. At all. I get scared very easily. I am of the type of person who, if you wanted to startle them, just calling my name and jumping out when I go to meet you is enough to send me possibly slightly into the air. A little bit, at least. And it's happened all my life. Story time. I love my mother. I love her to death. She gave birth to me. She raised me. She's a very kind woman. She is evil, though. Very evil. My mother has spent a lot of her life scaring the shit out of me. And she does this by the way of startling. My mom was the original Five Nights, because every time I go, she calls my name, I walk out, oh, Mom wants me for something, it must be to go ask what's for dinner or something. Maybe she needs help putting something on the high shelf because I'm a tall bastard. Jumps out the corner, scares shit out of me. She laughs, I'm on the floor cringing, possibly dying slowly. And it's all fun. I laugh a bit myself. There's a part of me that enjoys the startling scares. But it's just the reason I enjoy it is because I know it's silly of me to react like that, but I can't help it. I'm very easily scared. That's the end of it. It's a book on why Heroic Legend is afraid of things. Easily scared. Done. Closed book. 10 out of 10. 1 out of 10. Too many words. Too many pages. I don't know. I like that meme, though. But yeah, it's just, for me, horror games are just create too much of a sense of dread for me. I'm a happy guy. And even though the games I play don't reflect that, I am a happy guy. In Dark Souls, and not to mention, but I'm going to explain the big thing why. In Dark Souls, there's a spot even throughout all the chaos where you can say, I'm safe here. In Dynasty Warriors, you can go back to a base and wait for your health, and wait for health to spawn before going back out to fight. In Dark Souls 2, Majula, you literally have Majula. And again, the bonfires are safe spots. Let me see. Hell, in Pokemon, the Pokemon centers, and if you just avoid the tall grass and pay attention to trainers, ba-boom, no need to worry. But in horror games, there's so little time for you to feel like you're safe. But that's when they're done right, too. I don't want to feel safe if I ever play a horror game. I want to know that at any moment, my ass could be toast. The fear of the unknown is what really drives those games home. And I love that. I love that about it. For a while, I actually thought the horror games that were coming out weren't too scary. I didn't watch many of them, but okay, what's a good example? Those horror games are so terrible, I don't even remember them. So I'll give you an example of a horror game that I enjoy. And by enjoy, I mean I enjoy watching. Silent Hill. Now, obviously, I'm not one who cares for the movie. I'd strangle the movie if it were a person. I'm just going to get that out there. Resident Evil was another one. Hate the movies as well. Don't even need to ask my fucking opinion on those movies. I will get onto them later in this little talking and stuff. But the games created this feeling of, even if you find a room that's safe, it's a small room. It's not a big open space where you can catch your breath. It's a small enclosed area where you have the chance to prepare yourself before you have to go into the next spot, which is probably going to have litters of puzzles and zombies and monsters and stuff. In Silent Hill, I think there was even less spaces where you could just take a moment to breathe and not feel constricted by this overwhelming atmosphere and an insane story that's just so good, so fucking good. But when you do that right for horror games, you get such a feeling that it's an experience. It's a fucking trip. You know, and you can't accurately describe it. I can't even accurately describe it. I've watched them numerous times, and I still can't accurately pinpoint down what is it I love about these games and their stories. Again, I'd love them from a spectator standpoint. I probably hate them from a player standpoint, mostly because I'm not equipped for that mentally, as I've stated before. Can't handle them. But when the games do them wrong, I don't get this. I believe, to quote Yahtzee, for anyone who knows Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation, when they don't blanket me with their atmosphere, with their sense of dread, with their feeling of their fear of the unknown, I can handle it, but I don't want to handle it. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't grip me. All those things grip me. When I played Dark Souls, what gripped me was the story and the atmosphere. When I played Dynasty Warriors, what gripped me was the thought of ruling and needing to keep my kingdom safe. Freaking Pokemon, when I did the Nuzlocke, what gripped me was the bond I created with these creatures, and the feeling of dread that every fight could be their last. That's what got me. That's what kept me in. That's what hooked me. This is a fishing line. Whoop! That's what reeled me in. But when I play a game and it doesn't grip me, I'm like, eh. Hell, I know this is getting completely off topic, but Undertale, that game that recently came out, or maybe it's been out for a while, and I'm just stupid and lazy and don't pay attention to things. Anyway, my brother showed me the boss fight, and I'm not gonna spoil. I'm gonna warn you guys now. It was the boss fight of Sans, and the music, and the atmosphere, and the character you were fighting. It's so rare to see, at least for me, because, you know, maybe I don't play the best games, but when I see a boss with a face, I think to myself, it goes through a couple of checklists, you know? Like in Dark Souls 2 and in Dark Souls, there were a couple of bosses without faces. They had names, and they may even have but the thing is, they appeared later as common enemies, or if they didn't, they just weren't that memorable. The Capra Demon, for example, in Dark Souls 1, that fight's memorable because of its difficulty early on. It's designed to stop you, at least in my opinion. You can get through it, of course, you know, if you plan things out, or if you use any exploits that you might know of, but it's such a difficult fight because it's such a small space, but you want to beat it. But at the end of the day, he's still not a boss with a face. I only know it because of, well, the environment. If not for the environment, he would have just been another passing boss. I don't even remember the proper demon you fight on the bridge. A bridge demon? I think it was the Tauros demon, but I can't quite remember exactly, because he's not memorable. In games, when you have a boss fight, or when you have an area or a section that grips you, you feel it, and you know it, and I love that. And that's why for horror games, because they don't necessarily have boss fights, but they have environments, they have story, and they have enemies who are roadblocks to you progressing and figuring out this mystery or what's wrong. And when you get rid of them, they come back. That's what kills me about horror games. It's like, I can take out as many zombies as I want, but because it's an infection, because it's a widespread plague and it's taken this town, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe leaving the room. Now that I've said all that, let me get into why I hate the movies. Ooh boy. I don't know what I can honestly say that any other reviewer online has already said. I don't know if I can bring anything new, but here's why I believe all those are utter crap. First off, the Resident Evil movies. Not one moment when I watched those myself, even in frickin' elementary school, well, technically middle school, but when I watched one of those in middle school, I was not scared. I was not scared. I was like, oh my god, it's the Resident Evil things. I remember Resident Evil scared me. I said, what's this? Why am I not afraid? Why can I watch this? And I watch the scarier parts when they're in the frickin' school and when they're being in the cemetery. That's terrifying. But not the whole movie. One small part. That was it. And that's because Alice doesn't make me feel scared for the characters. And if anything, I get angry. Like, oh, that's nice. So you just let all those people die because you're too busy being a bitch. A stupid bitch, correction. She's not a fun character. She's not relatable. She's not likable. She's a Mary Sue. And in the frickin' Silent Hill movies, oh, I'm sorry that you needed to create these freaking characters to move your shit story along. What kills me is they weren't even... If Yui Bowl was the one who made those movies, I could see why they'd be crap. But no, these were big these were studios. These were people who had thought. They could have at least sat down and watched the game for a second. There's so many Let's Plays. So many, probably even back then. And they chose to ignore it. They chose to ignore the atmosphere, ignore the music, ignore the environment, ignore what made them scary, to create something to profit off of it because they had the name. Because it was in name only. These are characters in name only. These are movies of blank in name only. And that sucks. I would have loved to have seen a Resident Evil movie that would have scared the shit out of me. It would have made me been like, okay, I'm not gonna go to sleep tonight. Lights on. Gonna make sure the television's loud so I don't hear no shit. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm screwed. If I ever want to watch a horror movie, I want it to be a horror movie that actually scares me. That makes it so when I go to the bathroom at night, I feel like it's my last trip to the bathroom. I want to have to make the choice when I see a horror movie that going to the bathroom, yay, nay, or just try to go to sleep. If I can't make that decision, to me, your movie didn't scare me. You know? I know I did a lot of yelling just then, but bear with me. It sucks to see what happened to the games because of that. And don't even get me started on what Konami did. Ooh, that's a whole nother load. I'm gonna have to create another segment out of this. It's gonna be heroic talks and heroic bitch. Heroic bitching. A lot of bitching going on. Spoken quite a lot about that. So to recap and wrap up, I can't play horror games because I can't handle them. I'm not mentally equipped for that. I love horror games though, because of what they bring to the table. They bring me an interesting story, interesting puzzles, interesting mysteries, gripping tales, and sometimes even gripping characters. And when you do all that right, you get such a great game. And when you do all that wrong, you get their shitty movies. I'm insanely bitter. I'm sorry. Please, people, if you are going to show this to someone, tell them to get a bucket of popcorn ready, because there's a lot of salt in this episode. It's not Heroic Legend, it's Salt Legend. Legend of Salt. Anyway, I thank you all for listening to me basically bitch and, say why I can't play horror games. I hope you all enjoyed it for the overblown reactions I give, be they vocal or not, and maybe at some point I'll start, recording my face too, so you can see the horrified looks on my face. But until then, thank you all for watching again, and laters.